Welcome to Paul's Heart. I'm Paul, author of the book Paul's Heart, Life as a Dad and a 35-year cancer survivor. I want to talk a little bit about stress as I'm getting ready to watch my Seattle Seahawks host the San Francisco 49ers in their divisional playoff tonight at 8 o'clock. Now, stress can be good, it can also be bad. Usually, when you refer to good stress, you're usually talking about short term stress. And when you're talking about the bad stress, that's the long term. In other words, the stress that hangs on for a long time. So let's talk a little bit about each, okay? Your short term stress, your good stress, sometimes referred to as eustress, which is spelled EUSTRESS. Okay, this short-term stress is what provides you your motivation, your performance, helps you to face challenges, focus on energy, helps you to perform well in situations, such as when you're taking school exams or applying for new jobs. Uh, Short-term stress can also help you be more alert and aware. Um, Sometimes you hear of this trigger for fight or flight response. It helps you to react a lot more quickly. Sometimes short term stress can help cognitively, keep you sharp, helping you with your problem solving skills. There's also resilience building, toughens you up. Okay, help you prepare from with experience for future challenges. Now, the bad side of stress, the cons, the long-term stress, the bad stress, sometimes called distress. Okay, I have quite a bit of experience in that myself. I'll get into two examples in just a little bit, but when you're talking about long-term stress, it affects your physical health. You can have all kinds of issues, such as headaches, high blood pressure, heart disease, weakened immune system, stomach problems, sleeping becomes a problem. Your mental health, you end up dealing with anxiety attacks, depression. You could just be irritable, sometimes confused, hard to concentrate. Um, your job performance, your school grades can start to suffer as a result of this stress and worsens existing conditions. Uh, can make, if you're dealing with heart disease, can make that a lot worse. So, I want to talk about two key examples of the long term stress that I'm referring to. The first, and it kind of is a piggyback onto the last video that I talked about causes of disease, causes of cancer, things like that. I stress that I have no idea what's behind causing my Hodgkin's lymphoma. I did have mono a few years before that, which is likely due to having the Epstein Barr virus, which I don't know if I ever did. I've never been tested for it. However, in I have to think of my years, 1988, I was under a lot of stress. And I mean, like long term. There was no end to it. I'd go home from work all stressed out. I'd come back to work already started, revved up, ready to go. And I definitely do feel that all that stress probably was the trigger point for my diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma, the swelling of that lymph node that I had. I believe that my immune system got that challenged because of all that stress that I was under. The other example that I want to give in the physical uh, example of long term stress, I had developed long term issues due to the radiation treatment that I went through on my heart. And what would happen is I would develop this tightness in my chest that would last temporarily, and I would go about my business like nothing else happened after about a minute. No more pain or discomfort, whatever with that. But eventually, I would end up going to see a cardiologist and having a nuclear stress test done, which would reveal what that tightness actually was. And that was actually my heart not getting blood, what they typically call, and I want to be careful on here, a widowmaker, which means I was on my way to not being alive anymore. According to my cardiologist, it wasn't a question of if it was going to happen, but when. And because my primary care doctor chose, rather, I made the phone call to my primary care doctor that day in April of 2008. She made the arrangements for that test to happen, and it probably saved my life. After that test was completed, I got to see the pictures that were taken from that nuclear stress test scan, and I could see the effects of the stress that was put on my heart medically. I mean, this was an exercise test on a treadmill, and a radioactive dye to look for blockages to my heart, and there were several. But and this is what I can't use the right word that I want to use. But I now know what it looks like to not be alive medically, to not see blood going to the heart. So I've seen what my life looks like if I'm unalived. And that was because of stress. So there are several ways that I deal with stress today as a result of it. It took me a while to get to this point in my life. I do follow a lot of Buddhist principles, learning things that I can control, things that I can't. For instance, I live in a very touristy area of the country, so I've got to deal with a lot of traffic, long lines, impossible to get into restaurants, things like that. Those are things that I can't control, and I've learned not to get stressed out about it. Watching a football game, a football playoff, I sit there very quietly watching the game, watch it play out, knowing there's nothing I can do about it since I'm not on that field. I've learned how to set, that accept what I can control, what I can't. I also do a lot of meditating and deep breathing exercises, alternate breathing exercises. One that I do is where I will breathe in through my nose for 4 seconds. I will breathe out even slower with my lips pressed together. So it's just a little stream of air coming out of my mouth. It's scientifically proven. If you alter your breathing, you can change what's going on in your head that's stressing you out. So I do those. I also have gotten better at setting boundaries for myself, avoiding the things that will trigger me, whether they be people, could be, people acting rudely in public, things like that, or the way some people may talk to me. I've learned not to allow myself to be susceptible to those kinds of situations. I've learned how to manage the stress, and that becomes the difference between dealing with something horribly medically going wrong, being detrimental, affecting your mental health and everything else. You identify the sources, you learn how to cope. If it's short term, use it to build. Okay, make a positive direction out of that short term stress. If it's a long term thing, learn to control what you can, let go of what you can't. Set that boundary. And that's my talk on stress. Until next time, this is Paul's Heart.